Greetings, everybody. How are you? Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are just getting started here. Trying to figure out, there we go. Trying to see if we're live on Facebook or YouTube or Instagram. Anyway, here we go. Thanks so much for joining me today. So I'm Christine, and oh, hello, Bruce. Thanks for joining us. So we are celebrating leopards today, and I am dressed like a leopard. I hope you notice. So, yeah, International Leopard Day was a couple days ago. And so we are going to get going with our International Leopard Day event today on Sunday, because it's never too late to celebrate leopards. So, hi, if you don't know me already, I'm Christine Elder, and I'm a naturalist, environmental educator, and visual artist here in Central Oregon, and also lead tours around the world. And I may be leading a tour to South Africa where leopards live. So, the plan for today's workshop is we're going to review quickly the biology of the cat family and then specifically leopards. And we're going to review their anatomy because the more you know about their shape and size and their especially the skeleton and musculature, the more you can draw them accurately. So we're going to then be doing some leopard sketching practice with a couple of videos. And then at the very end, I'll tell you about how to join one of my courses. I did put a link somewhere, I think in the chat box on StreamYard, where I'm streaming from. And later on, I'll add that in Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. So the cat family characteristics. So you may have joined me for a previous workshop where I talked about these more. But anyway, the cat family, they are known as the Felids or Felidae. All family names end in IDAE. And it's a large family all around the world on all the continents and all the habitats, all different sizes and shapes and lifestyles and characteristics. We've got quite a few of them here in North America, from the lynx that lives up in Canada all the way to the mountain lion, which ranges from Canada all the way to Patagonia and everything in between. So leopard characteristics. So we're talking about that specific species now. And so they are closely related to snow leopards, clouded leopards, and the leopard cat. I have been lucky enough to see leopard cats in Malaysia. And so there are many, many subspecies because they are the most widespread distribution of all the wild cat species. So they're in Africa, and almost all the photos I'm showing you today and videos come from the African subspecies, Panthera pardus pardus. But there's an Indian one, Javan, Arabian, the Amur leopards, Sri Lankan, Indo-Chinese, and Anatolian. And so their closest relative, though, is actually geographically quite far away. They are jaguars. And you may have joined me for my jaguar workshop where we talked about those in detail. And so they are different, and so differ in size and where they live, whether they're more aquatically inclined like jaguars or better climbers like our leopards. And their rosettes are basically their spots. And so jaguars have more spots inside of their spots or rosettes, whereas the leopards don't. It's just like a rosette or a kind of a ring that makes the spot. One big spot. And so here's a picture. This is a jaguar, and you can see some of the spots inside. And then this is a leopard. Also, you can see from these photos that the jaguars, they're kind of more beefy. And again, they're not climbing up trees. They're in the jungle and they're swimming more. Leopards are leaner, especially with this wild one, nice and lean to be able to run really fast. So they look a lot more like a cheetah, which is one of their close relatives, another one of the big cats. And they have a longer tail and in more open habitats. So, like I said, they have the widest distribution of all cats. And of course, they used to be more widespread. The pink is where they were widespread and now extinct. So, of course, like all the big cats, they have a lot of issues with reducing their range from climate change and habitat loss, unfortunately, and hunting. So their range does overlap with other big cats, like the tigers in Asia and the cheetahs in Africa and the African lions. And I do want to thank some of my friends who are sharing photos today. I did put names next to the photos that have been shared. My buddy James Adams, who lives in Honduras and who has Natural Selections Tour Company, and Nancy Sevrain, who's actually one of my students online. And the other photos here are photos that I do purchase from Adobe Stock Images. Okay, so their habitats really range from forests to savannas to mountains. And so it depends on the subspecies and what country they're in. So just some cool habitat shots here. And you see, classic habitat of the savanna of Africa. And you may have joined me for one of my other workshops. I've done workshops on lots of the big mammals of Africa, like zebras and the cattle family, and what else? Giraffes and pangolins and rhinos and elephants. So just more habitat shots. And you see they have a kind of a white underneath their tail and white bellies. And also their you can see in the ear here, the black and white markings. We'll talk more about that later. And so, as we're going through these photos, look at them very closely, not just like you're watching a movie really passively, but as if you're actually out there on a safari, because we're going to go on a virtual safari in a minute. And so, really noticing the characteristics of these guys to get ready to sketch them in the field. So anyway, continuing on with their biology. So they're mainly nocturnal, mostly active and hunting at night, and they can leap 20 feet. Now, this isn't a real photo. This is kind of like an illustration, but it's amazing illustration that shows they're leaping. So you'd probably be pretty scared if you had one of those coming towards you. And here are a couple more photos from my student Nancy, of them up in the tree. Again, these guys are a lot more arboreal and can easily climb trees with those claws that can come out of their sheaths. Like other cats, they have retractable claws, but they come out of their sheaths when they're climbing, and of course when they're eating. And so they spend a lot of times in their trees, and that's why they're more sort of graceful and svelte and trimmer than our neotropical jaguars, who are more in dense tropical forests, wandering around on the forest floor. And so here's a hunting stance. And here you can really easily see their beautiful coat pattern and how they lack this little dots inside of the rosettes that you find in our neotropical jaguars. These are all leopards. But a lot of these guys are also called panthers in general, because that is their genus name, Panthera. So you might hear that name too. So they have a wide range of diets depending on, again, where they live and in what country and what habitat. But they really like all the animals in the Bovidae or cattle family. And again, you may have joined me for one of my workshops on the cattle family, like when we drew the wildebeest. So, they're going to like the impalas and all of those guys of different sizes. And of course, that coat can create incredible camouflage for them, and in certain dappled light, like in here. And you can, really see them well or see how well they're camouflaged. And another photo by Nancy, who's one of my students in my program called the Nature Nook, which is my monthly online program. Anyway, so she said that there's markings smell like popcorn. So when they spray to show their territoriality, and this is a male lifting their tail up really high, and you can see their testicles right there, and they're scratching the ground like a cat would. Now, unlike most cats, they're great swimmers, the leopards, just like their close relatives, the jaguar. But like we said before, they're incredibly athletic, svelte tree climbers. And again, another photo where they can haul their food up in the trees. Now, they're going to do that to escape their main competitors, like hyenas and African lions and wild dogs. But they can also not only eat these members of the cattle family, but they'll even eat various primates, warthogs, rodents, certain larger birds, and fish. And their relatives, the jaguars, even eat crocodiles. So I don't know if these guys eat crocodiles. They might. But they also love to lounge around like house cats. And if you have a house cat, you know how much they like to be quiet and lounge. Okay. And so another thing I wanted to mention is, we mentioned that concept of the panther, the name panther, and that's a general name for for the members of the Panthera genus. But you may have heard the term Black Panther, and that's an occurrence of melanism. So the word Black Panther doesn't necessarily refer to any species, but it is found in leopards and jaguars, and maybe, I believe, a few other species. And so this is an amazing photo taken by another one of my students, Chris Soper, of Giza and Mrembo. And she's in Kenya, and she's a wild cat. And what was I going to say about her? Yeah. And so there's another image. So melanism is quite rare. I read that it's found in about 1 in 10 cats, or about 10%, depending on location. And let's see. No, here. You can see a little bit of the ghosted image of the rosettes. So it's not completely black. And this melanism is due to a genetic, not necessarily an abnormality, but a gene variation that increases the melanism, or the production of melanin, which is a pigment in the skin. Let me get a drink here. And yeah, I want to say hello to Jay and Kirsten, who's joining us online. Yeah. And so anyway, related to her, that is an actual leopard that's alive right now in Kenya. And a whole book was written by Dan Peel chronicling the life of Giza. And if you're interested in his book, you can look that up on the internet, Moving Shadows, or look on his website, danpeelphotography.com. So anyway, let's move on to the anatomy specifically. We have seen a lot of photos already of our big cats, but let's specifically talk about anatomy, because of course we do want to study their anatomy so that we can sketch them better. So it really adds to your enjoyment and understanding of a species if you're going to draw it. And you don't have to go on an African safari. You might have one of the species of big cats at your local zoo. And so you might want to sketch them there, practice sketching. And so generally I have people practice sketching first from photographs, and then later on from videos, and sometimes even from using models. Like I have a little model here of a different species of wildcat, but three-dimensional models can really help you. As you see, I have my makeup on as a not a jaguar, a leopard, and my shirt and my matching couch there, bedspread. So I'm really getting in the mood here for talking about leopards. Now, I don't know if I can see any questions. If you have questions, you might put them in YouTube or StreamYard. I'm not sure where this is actually streaming successfully to. The idea was to stream to both. So yeah, anyway, I've got my sketchbook here, and maybe you have your sketchbook as well. And so, yeah, I do see we are live on YouTube. That's great. And I'm not sure if I can see any comments. I'm just looking if there's any comments. I believe you can comment if you have a question. Anyway, let's get back to the slideshow. So yeah, let's talk about the anatomy, because half of the battle really of drawing something realistically is just understanding the anatomy. And so now some members of the cat family have this thing called Henry's pocket. If you have your own cat, maybe at home right now, you could look at that. But that's this unique little pocket here on the ear. You want to also notice their whisker bed and their whiskers. And whiskers on their cheeks there, and as well as above their eyes, and noticing the shape of their nose. So it's really triangular compared to a dog's. And it has this vertical slit right here called the philtrum. So you can see that here in both areas there. And you can see those whisker beds and those black markings that are in kind of parallel lines. And if they are opening their mouth or yawning or growling or roaring, you can see that their tongue is covered with horn-like papillae, which rasp meat from the prey, and they aid them in grooming, of course, just like your own house cat. And so here's a beautiful wild leopard drinking. And this is a picture actually I took of a jaguar while I was in Belize a while back. But you can see how similar they look to their closest relatives. And yeah, I didn't mention that, but going back to why leopards and jaguars are closely related, or the most close related, is because millions of years ago, Africa and South America used to be, cuddled right up against each other. And yeah, there we go. Which one am I trying to get here? Oh, I can't get it now again. Sorry, I'm trying to get back to where I was before. There we go. So, yeah, South America and Africa used to be right next to each other. And so really old families of animals and plants that have been around millions of years ago were able to spread across those regions. And then when those continents separated from that rift that's down the middle of the Atlantic, then they eventually became different species. So anyway, so where were we? Okay. Oh, thank you, Isla, Isla Zilak. Thank you so much for commenting. I look beautiful today. I'm trying to look very cat-like. Rawr. So yeah, anyway, we see, of course, their big fangs, which used to be larger in their relatives, the saber-toothed cat, millions of years ago. And then here's a nice photo of the ears. And so ears of big cats have black and white bars on the back almost universally. And I'm not sure why, but again, it might be for communication or for camouflage. And noticing the look on this face. So cats have very expressive faces. You see how different these expressions are. So they're really fun to draw, compared to birds, which really you can't see much expressions on them. Okay, let's keep going. And yeah, if you are in my mammal course or you want to join it, again, I can tell you more about that later, but we did draw the close-up of the jaguar and we looked more at its face. But again, when you're drawing, you just want to think about shapes and alignments of different structures. So in this case, kind of the ears are at an angle, the snout and the mouth are in the same line. The eyes are above the base of the snout. So just thinking of things almost geographically, geometrically, or scientifically. Okay. And then even closer, looking at the eyes, noticing that the eyes are higher at the outer edges, compared to ours. And again, I've got my eyes kind of made up to look like a jaguar or leopard, but see, ours are not. They're kind of more even, whereas the leopard is very different. Okay. And then again, when you're drawing, you want to think about those expressions. So, we've got a very soft, mellow, relaxed expression in this animal. And then in here, another quote unquote Black Panther. We've got him looking kind of pissed off. And then this one is even more aggressive. And you can clearly see all those wrinkles on the top of the snout, which is helping you to see that they're mad, as well as the ears pinned back, just like a horse does, and then the wide open mouth. So, noticing those kind of things when you're drawing. Okay. And then next, okay. And so, retractable claws. And then some animals don't have retractable claws, like the cheetah, their claws are kind of always in because they have to run faster. But the is especially the other ones like the leopard have claws where they can help them climb the trees. Okay. And then when you're drawing, you want to refer to skeletons to understand and depict the joints and the curves. And I'll show you a quick video about that, helping you understand that. But generally, with all of my workshops, and especially in my Sketching Mammals of the World course, I talk a lot about that and show you lots of videos and have downloadable files of all the skeletons. But I really suggest when you're learning about the anatomy, whether you're, a biologist or a student, or you want to be a better realistic drawing wildlife artist, you really need to know skeletons. And so you can see those often at natural history museums or zoos or aquariums, or colleges and universities that have collections of mounted specimens. And they really help you to see where the joints are so you don't round things too much. So you really show that rounding, those angles. Okay, and there's just another one. And you'll just notice that, these mammals, they have all the same bones as we do, similar bones even to flying bats and swimming dolphins. And so they are all modified for their lifestyle. So you want to think about that as well. Like, does the animal have a long tail so that it can balance or wrap around a tree? Or does it have really long legs to help it run like a giraffe, or short legs to help it go through tunnels in the ground like a mole? So you always want to really study the skeletons. Okay, and then here, speaking of skeletons, here's the skull of a saber-toothed cat. So again, that cat family, the Felidae, they're very old, millions of years old, and here in North America, we had these guys. And nowadays, the skull looks a lot more like this, but in this skull, you see those big old canines for grasping their prey, and they have really big areas right here for attachment of these muscles at the base of the jaw, and then the back of the skull, all these muscles that attach to help them have a really strong bite force. Now, not as strong, of course, as a hyena who they live near, but pretty strong still. Okay, so who's ready to start practicing sketching leopards on safari? Now, I may have mentioned earlier that I am going to be leading a tour this November in real life. 2-week tour in South Africa, wildlife sketching, and you'll just have to follow me to learn more about that. On my YouTube channel, there is a video of that if you search from last year's, but we're planning another one, and we're just looking for 6 guests to join us. But anyway, today we're going to pretend we're in the field. So I want you to put on your camouflage field clothes and pretend you're getting in the big safari vehicle. And we're passing some elephants and we're passing some giraffes, and we're going to get our sketchbooks out and we're going to sketch. Okay, so I've got a video for you. Now, first, before we start, I want to give you just a few hints. This is a handout I have for general hints for accurate nature sketching. This one, of course, just shows a simple sea lion. We're not drawing sea lions, of course, but it's all the same idea that when you're drawing, you want to think first about blocking in our general shapes, looking at negative shapes or the shape like these black areas that are not the animal. And so those shapes can sometimes help you just as much as the shapes of the animal in drawing. And then noticing angles. Like we'd mentioned, those angles where the joints are, and then alignments of various structures, whether they're parallel or perpendicular to each other, and then relative proportions. So, like the proportion of the head to the body is going to differ in different animals, just like the proportion of a giraffe's head is much smaller to its body compared to the proportion of a rhinoceros to the rest of its body, right? And then the concept of flow lines, or how your pencil can flow around the edge of the animal, whether it's kind of jiggy jaggy like this or nice and smooth. Okay, so tell me in the chat box or wherever you're watching this, if you can, if you're ready to start sketching with me. And please give me a thumbs up if you're watching this on YouTube. Okay, let's see. Yeah, if you're watching this on YouTube, of course, I do have a YouTube channel, and I'd love it if you followed me, if you click those notify buttons, and if you click those subscribe buttons, and that really helps YouTube to know that my content is valuable, and thus it will show it to more people. All righty, so again, if you want, I think you can comment. I don't see any comments, so maybe there aren't any here. But are you ready to start sketching? So I made a video for you here. So we're going to go on to that now. Okay, so let's observe and sketch leopards. So first I'm going to just have you watch, and we're going to be watching just the regular speed of the animal. And then I'm going to show you some slow motion. So here we go, slow motion. Great, thank you. Jay says you're ready on YouTube. So yeah, just keep observing and draw what you can. Just light and loose. Remember, we're out in the field. And you might hear my pencil moving. You can't get a whole lot of detail, but you know, the animals aren't just going to wait around for you. They're going to want to keep going. But I've made it just a little bit easier for you. Going a little slower. Okay, here's the next one. Again, at normal speed, just watching, and then we'll slow it down. Again, you might hear my pencil moving. So no erasing, just keep that pencil moving. And you're right, rats, it moved, but the body is still in the same position. So when something moves, you can just keep working on the part that didn't move. And you might want to do another quick version of just the head now, turning a different way. So these are all videos of cats, mainly in Kruger National Park. Oh, well, this is a jaguar, sorry. And here you'll notice this is a male jaguar, and you'll notice the spots inside of the rosettes, and also just more of the jungly habitat that the jaguars live in. But notice those spots inside of the rings or rosettes. And that's going to help you know that this is a jaguar. Amazing beast. And our last one, this is a cub in Africa, a leopard cub, and it's panting. So this is, a little bit more challenging, but this is how it is in the field, right? So they're not going to be in the perfect habitat for you all the time. They're not going to be right up in front. They might be covered. They might be covered by grass. They might be in the shade. So not always easy. And of course, the first times you're drawing something are a lot harder, but the more you get to know the anatomy of something, the better. And the kitten's turning, maybe looking for its mom. Okay, and that's it. Okay. How do you guys do with that one? So my sketches were pretty rudimentary and yours probably were too, but that's okay. I always want you to emphasize the learning. So you're sketching to learn while learning to sketch. That's one of my basic phrases I use. And so don't worry about what's on the paper. I want you to just appreciate what you've got in your mind by the activity of holding your pencil, observing closely, and drawing. And so you learned a lot more about the anatomy than maybe your illustration suggests, right? So don't just automatically, throw your drawings away. Okay, so anyway, so I've got another one here. In this quick version, this is a time lapse. I do have the full narrated, like 20-minute version of this inside my course, which I'll tell you about at the end. But I just want to show you kind of how it really helps to look at a skeleton. So this is a handout I have inside my course, and there's a ghosted picture of a skeleton here. Okay, and then I'm demonstrating, practicing drawing over it while observing the real animal in almost exact pose. So this is a great activity to do. So I'm just again showing you really quickly how I'm using that skeleton as kind of a basis. Just like when you watch someone build a house, they're going to put the cement foundation down first, then they're going to put the walls and the roof up before they start adding any specific, rooms or, carpeting or furniture. And that's how drawing is and observing things, is it really helps you to think about what is inside of the animal. And so this is a really good process to do. I always suggest to my students that you go to natural history museums and observe the mounted skeletons, and maybe there's a mounted taxidermied specimen as well, and you can practice drawing. And so you see how I started very lightly and loosely with just a tan colored pencil. And I'm using these sketching pencils that don't have an eraser. So I'm not going to spend time or cheat with an eraser, because you can't really erase much in the field. No animal's going to wait for you to become a perfectionist. Okay, so I hope that helped. Anyway, okay, so I did just want to tell you a bit about my course called The Introduction to Sketching Mammals. And I will put a link to that in YouTube and Facebook or wherever else this is streaming, so that you can learn more about that. It's my foundational course, and it has about 30, I think at least 30 different workshops on different families of mammals around the world. And so, sorry, where am I here? Here we go. So it includes other big cat workshops like the jaguar and like the tiger. So you learn more about cats. And then it also has lots of downloadable resources, including these that, show all the bones there. And then reference photos as well. So each of my workshops in all of my courses has these downloadable handouts of high resolution images. Now, most of these I do purchase from stock images, and that's one of my many expenses I have for having these courses. So that's why I can't always teach for free like I am teaching today. But in this today's workshop inside my course, you get this 6-page handout to really get a lot more practice, as well as getting the long narrated version of drawing on that skeleton that I just showed you. And oh, that's it for the slideshow. Oh, wait, there we go. So, does anyone have any questions? I do see some people able to say hi there in the chat box on StreamYard. I don't know if I see anybody on Facebook. Okay, great. Or on YouTube. Great. Well, anyway, I will put links to my course. I am putting it on sale for 30% off in celebration of International Leopard Day. And so again, all of my workshops are a lot more detailed than this, and they really go into a lot of more detail on the anatomy and natural history. And again, they have these sorts of handouts that you get. So the Sketching Mammals of the World course does cover lots of other animals that share the same African savanna habitat as the leopard, and are things that we will see on my sketching tour in South Africa in November that you're welcome to come along on. It's a bucket list trip. So I cover zebras and giraffes and aardvarks and pangolins and even the naked mole rat. And my sketching bird, no, where am I? Sketching mammals at the world course also covers mammals from the other continents. So from North America and Australia and South America and Asia, and covers animals that fly, like, of course, bats. You'll learn also about animals that swim, mammals like dolphins and whales and sea lions. So I hope you'll consider joining that. I will put a link again to that 30% off in all the places that this event is streaming today, so that you can get that. That is only on sale for a couple more days in celebration of International Leopard Day. So be sure to check that out when you go over to that sales page that is listed here in StreamYard at the top of the stream, one of those places. Then you can learn more about it and see some sample workshops so you can get an idea about the course. And of course, like all of my courses, I give a 14-day money-back guarantee. Although I think over the last 5 years, I've only had a couple requests for refunds. So anyway, thank you so much, everybody who joined me. I can see the names of folks like Bruce and Jay and Kirsten and Isla who've been joining me. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Thank you so much for the compliments on my cat-like decor and makeup. So I really hope you learned a little bit about leopards and the cat family in general, a bit about their anatomy and their lifestyle and their habitats and their ranges. So thank you so much for joining me today. And again, I would really love it if you'd consider checking out my course, Sketching Mammals of the World. Okay, I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.